Okay. Hi, Bob. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here with you.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. As we were talking about before we got on, you have been on the audio podcast a couple of times, but you
Right.
have never been on the video show. So we looked it up, and thank you for coming on the video show. It's nice to see you this time.
Well, I'm glad that I could wear my Steeler jersey, and oh, there we go.
There you go.
And that way I get to show off my home team colors.
Yeah, wonderful. You're originally from Pittsburgh, then, I take
I
it.
am.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
But you live in LA now, or have been for some time, yeah?
Yeah. And in my radio career, of course, I traveled all over the Southwest, and but yeah, I've been in LA more than any place else. I mean, Pittsburgh is still my beloved home. And it's my when it comes to sports teams, and I'm diehard, totally. And but I've never been an LA fan for teams or anything like that. But you can't beat the weather, although it's with climate change, it's kind of crazy and has been kind of crazy for some time now. So, but yeah, LA's home.
Well, I have to sort of agree with you on the sports, I don't know, community isn't quite the same as it is on the East Coast. I mean, I'm originally
Oh,
from
not at all.
Boston, and going to a Red Sox game at Fenway Park was just an experience. And the one time that I went to a sporting event in LA, nobody was paying attention to the game. Everybody was on their phone. It was all corporate.
Yeah, Dodgers, Angels, Lakers, Clippers. Which one was it?
It was the Angels.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Out of all the teams in Los Angeles or in Southern California, that is probably the least Eastern like.
Yeah, I
I mean,
agree.
it's always the joke, LA fans arrive in the third inning, they leave in the seventh inning to beat the traffic, right? And there is some sense to that because of the traffic in LA. But if you're a sports fan, you come before the game to watch batting practice, and you leave after the game because you're shooting the breeze with your friends or other people and just doing people watching. So
Well, absolutely. And also the size of the stadiums are just, I loved Fenway Park because it felt like you were at a Little League game, and yet this was the major leagues. So those old stadiums just have so much charm.
well, I grew up at Forbes Field, and that tells you how far back I go. I never ever went to Three Rivers except in the off season. We took a vacation back to Pittsburgh, and I wanted to show my kids at the time, and I made arrangements with the PR director to get on the outfield there, and we did. But I've never been to PNC Park, which I would love to go to, and one day I will, because it's one of those small bandbox parks. But no, you're right. I mean, the great small parks are always so. I wouldn't use the word eclectic. I would use the word probably homey, or
Intimate.
I
Yeah.
mean, the big parks like Forbes and still had their charm, or the Polo Grounds, which was probably one of the worst ever, still had its charm. But then they went to the '70s. We had all these cookie cutters. There was Riverfront, Three Rivers, the Astrodome, all these stadiums. They're all exactly the same. It was like, yeah, I'm bored.
Well, it's the difference to me between a shopping mall and a mom and pop store. I mean, you get the same product, but the environment is just much more friendly and cozy. There was something on your bio that I wanted to bring up, and then we'll talk
Sure.
about your book. It says that during 1992 LA riots, you got beat up. You were down
Yeah.
there? Wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was. Golly, I was assigned. I was working for UPI, which was I was. Long story short, I won't go into details, but I was working for UPI and NBC Radio at the time, and my job was to get reaction to the verdict of the officers who were tried for the Rodney King beating. And I was supposed to go to South Central LA, which is what it was called at the time, instead of South LA, and excuse me, and just to get reaction. Well, that's what I did. And I heard a friend of mine on KFWB, Pete Demetrio, who is now a colleague. We work at the same radio station, and we've been friends for years. And he said, if there's going to be a flashpoint, it's going to be at Florence and Normandy. So I told my desk, I said, that's where I need to be. And they said, what do you feel comfortable? And I said, oh, yeah, I was the first white guy in an all black semi-pro team. And I know the area. I played in the Watts area, South Central LA, that area. And, I feel totally comfortable. Well, to make a long story short, I got there right before the cops fled. And we were kind of left alone there. And I was on a payphone when I got attacked and beaten up. So that's the gist of the story.
Why Florence and Normandy? Why did he know that was going to be the spot? What was significant about that particular spot?
Well, that's where people were gathering, and people were already looting stores. They were throwing rocks at anybody who drove through, and that's where Reginald Denny ended up. And I was there before Reginald Denny, and I left at about the same time he did. We ended up at the same hospital 15, 20 minutes later. And, but that, you could tell what was happening. If there was going to be a riot sparked, that's where it was going to be. It just, people were congregated. It was a main intersection in South Central LA. And that's where it was going to happen. And it did. There were other flashpoints too, but that was the big one.
Did you get beat up before him or after?
During.
Because there's all kinds of video of him. Did they get you on video?
Until recently, I never thought they did. However, in doing research for the 30th anniversary, I just did a piece with CNN and Van Jones. They asked me to come down and doing research and refreshing my memory. I found some new video, and you can actually see my car. You can't see me getting beat up, and you can't see me in the intersection. Actually, I was probably about 60 yards off the intersection where the payphone was, because we didn't have cell phones at that time. And but you could actually see my car. And if I remember right, you could actually see my car driving away in one of the shots of the video. I'm just at the very edge. If whoever shot the video, and I don't think it was Bob Turr, it might have been at the time. I'm trying to think back now. If that had zoomed in a little bit more on that section where I was, you would have seen me, and you might have seen me getting attacked. But at this point, there's nothing has come up at all.
That was from a helicopter, right? That was shot.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, Bob, who is now Zoe Turr, was the cameraman, and I think Bob passed away just recently, if I remember right. He was working for either one of the TV stations or independently for one of the traffic stations or traffic companies, and he was, most of that video that's there was shot by him. Obviously, couldn't have too many helicopters in the area. He got pretty close, and because it was really dangerous at the time.
I know it's been a long time, and this might sound like a strange question, but if there was actually video of you getting beaten up, would you want to watch it?
Yeah, no, I mean, no doubt.
Okay.
I have never ever been someone who has been too shy or one of those things where it's like brings back trauma or anything like that. I want to know what happened. I want to see, because I never saw who attacked me. I don't know if it was one or more. I think it was probably one, may have been two. I don't know. And when I got up off the ground, they weren't there. There was a couple of people close by, but I don't know it was them because I got hit from behind.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I addressed someone in front of me who stopped and asked me what the hell I was doing there. And when I came out from behind where I was at the payphone, that's when I got hit from behind.
And they knocked you out?
Well, no, they knocked me out, but knocked me down.
Knocked you down.
And then
okay.
kept punching and kicking me, and you can hear me screaming, saying, what was I saying? Okay. And actually, to be honest with you, there's a clip of that audio that all that survived was about 18 seconds, I guess. You can hear me getting attacked because I was reporting to Washington at the time, and they were rolling tape. So the tape existed, and it's on my website. It's on the front page of my website, bobbrill.com. And if somebody goes there, they'll see iconic radio tape, and you can listen to it. I mean, I've heard it thousands of times by now, and it's considered by some one of the best pieces of radio reporting ever. I don't know about that, but I would have rather be known for doing something a little bit more classic rather than getting my head bashed in. But it's not audio that you're going to get every day. More now than back then. I mean, today with everybody having their cell phones and cameras and everybody's rolling on everything, you're going to catch stuff like that. Back then, right time, right place, wrong time, right place, that type of thing. And that's basically how it happened.
Well, you could be in the category of the guy who was there at the Hindenburg. That one's very famous.
Yeah, and I guess, or maybe Les Nessman on WKRP at the turkey drop. But I mean, either way, no, but you're right. I'd never thought of, I can't think of his name now, the guy who was at the Hindenburg. And that was one of those radio moments. So I guess if you look at it that way, you could classify it in that grouping.
We've just got a couple minutes left. I want to get your book in here. The book is called The Tattoo Murder. Can you give us like a 1-minute synopsis of it?
Sure. The Tattoo Murder is basically a book I wrote. There it is right there. I wrote over 10 years ago, and then it sat on a shelf. And it's a racy detective novel set in Ventura, California, with the main character, John Potenza, Italian American, who was a combat veteran in Bosnia, who became a police officer in his own town, and is sort of like a local James Bond when it comes to the ladies, at least. So it is a racy novel. It's a lot of people have asked me a lot of questions about that. And the reason it sat for so long was when I originally wrote it, I let my daughter read it, and it was too racy. And she said, I can't read this. My dad wrote it. And I let my sister read it. Basically got the same thing. So I toned it way down, set it on the shelf, and said, I'm not going to publish it until it's the right time. And I've had a few people been after me for years to publish it who read it, one including I don't know if I should say this, she's a psychiatrist friend of mine. She, based on her and a few other people, I decided, okay, I'll go to the publisher and do it. And they loved it. They just absolutely loved it. It's won some awards, and it's doing well. It's basically this. I can tell you this: it's a body washes up on shore in the first page, in Ventura, California, and it's a bloated body with a lot of tattoos. And basically, John Potenza has to solve this crime while at the same time keeping two local warring motorcycle gangs from what they used to call going to mattress, going to war. So that's the nutshell story. And it's very involved, very complicated, a lot of characters and a lot of twists and turns. And the two things we did that's very unique in this book, number one, we took pictures, and my wife's a credited photographer. We took pictures of actual places in Ventura where this crime takes place. So you feel hopefully like you're in the story, because these are real places. And I don't make up fictional stuff. They're real places. And even though it's a fictional story. And the other thing is, like a movie screenplay, there's a timeline. Every scene has the date, the time of day, and where in Ventura or wherever the scene takes place. And that could be every 2 pages, could be every 1 page, could be every 5 pages. But it's like reading a movie script in that context. And people said they can't put it down once they start reading it. And I think that's one of the reasons, because you could think you're getting to the end of the chapter, but you're actually getting to the end of the scene in 2 pages. So you read to the end of the scene. Well, the next one's only 3 pages, so I'll read that one. Oh, that's only 2 pages now. And all of a sudden you've read 20 pages in a short period of time. And so I think that has been part of the I can't put it down scenario.
Does this take place in present day, or is it in the past, like in the 40s
It
or
takes
something?
place in about 20 years ago. And because John Potenza, like I said, is um, a a veteran of the war in Bosnia.
Oh, all right. So like in the
And so he had to
1990s or
be at a
so.
certain age.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
that happened in the 90s,
Right.
so he had to
Okay.
be of a certain age. And if I made him there are some Vietnam veterans in the book. I could have made it around 9/11, but that's not where I originally wrote it from. And like I said, I wrote it 10 years ago. So this particular book, and there's a lot of music talked about in the book, and a lot of that's from that time period. Of course, a lot of that is my time period, and so that's where I went with it.
Well, Bob, we got to wind this down. We are out of time. Thanks so much for coming on. Give out your website again, please.
Yeah, my website for the books is bobbrillbooks.com. Of
Okay.
course, you can find me on Amazon, and then there's bobbrill.com, which has links to just about everything. But book-wise, bobbrillbooks.com. It's easy to remember.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for coming on the video show. Nice to see you this time, and best of luck with everything you're doing.
You got it. Thanks again for having me.